morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first, abstract from everything else. Nothing and no one exists. Only emptiness, vastness. Hey, good morning, everyone. So today we're going to talk about types of seekers, mm, and the challenges that I will just reduce it to two types and the challenges that they have ahead. Uh, I will speak about in how do you say this into these distinct categories so that you can place yourself one or in the other for you to see more or less where you're standing and where do you have to move from. So when the calling is there, everything else is there also. Mm? The human aspect, the human quest, everything is there. There's the only difference from an ordinary person is this quest for truth, or sometimes just a quest for something. Not necessarily it has a definition, but it's surely not worldly. As the seeker moves and aspires for truth, he has to go through his human nature, his mundane nature. And of course, the same quests that were there before, this inner calling, are still there. The same desires, everything is there. The difference is he starts to shift from the worldly environment to satisfy those personal needs, and he moves to this spiritual environment. And what seems to be a very complicated journey, in fact, it isn't. It is quite simple. The understanding of teachings, of all these complexities in the spiritual path, it's about giving up, remaining still, abiding in devotion, in sacredness, silence, devotion, sacredness, and dissolving here. This is very difficult in the beginning because of this mundane nature. So more or less there are two categories. Third one, it's very difficult, especially perhaps in places where there's more poverty, more difficulties, and religion is abundant, is very strong. Or else these two categories are the most common ones. The ones who are pleasure motivated and the others that are power motivated. So there is one category, and this is more, you can look at this connected to the lower centers of energy of consciousness, which is connected to this character, to this lower self. So this pleasure motivated seeker usually is very nice, very pleasant to talk to watch. Even his appearance is very nice, and he is driven on finding pleasure, increasing pleasure, and he may even seek power also, which is connected to the third one, because he is more connected to the second one, second center. But he may even aspire for power if it is a means for pleasure. So this particular character, he will do anything to get in it with his own tools to arrive to freedom. And freedom for him will have this connotation of pleasure. And sometimes it is very easy for this seeker to connect to higher frequencies. And by connecting to these higher frequencies that come as a shower, a shower, and this is very, very, very pleasurable. It is like a shower of bliss, a shower of love. So sometimes they have this ability to connect in an easier way. There's reasons for this, but I will not go into this, or else it will disperse and gets more confused. And he is driven by this need to increase his pleasure, his well-being. So this seeker has lots of abilities of making others to appreciate him, to like him, to do things for him. He is driven not by, he doesn't use his power, his personal power. Sometimes he puts it even aside and becomes weak, or presents himself in a weak manner, in a fragile manner, so that others around him can help him accomplish what he wants. He has no problems, no lack of personal power. He's just using his personal power in a different way, lowering it so that others assist him. He has like an energy of attraction which is very strong, very strong. So wherever this seeker is, it is difficult not to like him, because he is a professional at being likable. But it's not really that authentic. It is a mask which is used, and all the negativities that are there usually get suppressed because he is not able to express it, because if he express those negativities, others may start not liking him so much, so he doesn't express them, so he doesn't lose all which is dear to him, all that support, all those means that bring him something that he values. So it is very difficult to not like him, but at the same time, it's very difficult to really know him, because he doesn't even know himself. He doesn't afford that luxury, or else he will lose a lot. And by any chance, if those negativities arouse too much, this becomes an inner conflict, because it disturbs those mechanics that he has established, and it is very difficult. So what are the difficulties of this seeker in the spiritual path? Well, he will use the same tools that he was using in the worldly environment to get what he wants. If it's with the master or with the others around, it doesn't matter. He will still use the same tools as being the nicest that he can. Sometimes it's a bit difficult, but still, this is what he tries to do. And to conquer spiritual evolution by favor, by the means of seduction, by the means of being nice and all these things, in a way that it will come to him, that he doesn't need to make much effort. So the effort part is very difficult for this seeker, because he is trained to make others to do the effort for him, or to give things to him in an easy way. So when he comes to the spiritual path, it is very difficult, because he finds himself weak. If he can transcend these first mechanisms to make his own efforts and to make hard work, something that scares a lot this seeker. He doesn't like it. It doesn't really like it. So this is a big difficulty. Sometimes he is weak and he has to conquer this inner strength, but most of the time it's not even a matter of weakness. It is a matter of persisting with old ways and not being able to maintain an effort long enough and going back to the same. It is easier for this seeker to just collapse on the floor because somewhere inside something tells him that if he collapses, someone will come and will help him and will do things for him. So he is trapped in these um, unconscious behaviors, and it is very difficult for him. And if he is being exposed to this intensity, for example, by a master, he will even take this personal in a sense. He will have difficulties in understanding because his suffering is very important. All others' suffering is not that important, but his own, the suffering that he causes to others compared to his own is much bigger. So he doesn't understand why am I being exposed to this suffering, because this is unnatural. And God is love. So he looks around. Maybe in the world, everything is God, which is love. The rest is not God, something else. Because he's only after this love aspect, not as a divine realization, but as a worldly realization, because it is for the character and for the maintenance of his world, of his delusion. Then we have the power motivated. So this power hungry, motivated character, seeker of truth, it is the one who has no problems sometimes. Sometimes he has, depends from where he is coming. If he had an easy life, or if he had so much of an easy life. So it can be, but he will be able to do effort, to work hard. The only difference is what kind of work. If he had an easy life, it will be much more it will be much more easy to do light work that involves only mental activity, and more difficulty in physical work. But still, he will do it because of this power motivation. He will, if he is weak, he will strengthen him. He will strengthen himself, and he will do whatever he needs to do for truth and for realization. And for both, everything is a tool. Everything is a tool for their goal in accordance to their ideas. So they visualize others, master the teachings, everyone around them as a means to an end. Each one is in their own circumstances. So going back to this power seeking, they have a little bit more difficulty in being nice. They are strong by nature. Their solar plex is very strong. A lot of fire is there. Sometimes it's a fire that goes to the mind, if it is this other that is more connected to mental work. So they become more aggressive in words, not in actions. But usually they can do anything. They can work if they believe it is possible. They can do anything which is there. And they will do things that are not even humanly possible. They will do anything. And as they approach spiritual teachings and all of this, they will look at these spiritual teachings in a different way. The pleasure-seeking one will see these teachings as a means to an end. also like the other one, but in an end which is they see truth as something very particular, something that was missing, this loving, caring from the parents and all of this. They see, they want to see everything as just pure light, pure love, and pure bliss. And they will have very difficulties in dealing with their own negativities, in being honest, sincere, and compassion for them. It is something that supports weakness, that protects weakness. The other one, compassion, he doesn't really know what that really means. He will only know what compassion means when he gets into a situation very difficult for him, that and then that he can experience compassion from others towards him. But it has to be very difficult, or else he will not see it. Because both in its own way, everything in life which is good, they see it as a right, not as a blessing. They see things as a right. So both will have difficulties in seeing um, what is compassion. This motivated type usually is also very intelligent, and he doesn't have much difficulty understanding the mechanics of teachings. Is only the biggest obstacle there is in his path is himself. Both are there, but this is a little bit different because he can endure pain, he can endure suffering, he can endure whatever is there. He will endure and he will survive. So things that to the other one will break his world easier, for this is much more difficult because he is very strong. So in a sense, for this seeker, frustration is ultimately, if not wisdom, frustration will be his ultimate friend, because it will be, because without frustration, uh, he will not be able to assess, to reevaluate his own positions, to have a vision of himself, because he is working hard, intensely, teleologically. He has a goal set in mind, and he will see the teachings, and he will want the best teachings, everything that is best, the strongest, the fastest. This is his goal, and everything is a way. It's like he is chewing sacredness and spitting it out. He is taking all the divine value of things because of this greed, this spiritual greed. Because in the end, it is about low self-esteem, which is compensated by big personal importance, apparently, and he wants to arrive at the top, to be at the top, to be the best, to be looked upon, to be the center of whatever, and depends on the greed in itself. So this is it is his goals, and he will do anything which is possible, and he will surrender, of course, because surrender is a big part of the way. Seva is a part of the way, so he will do seva, he will work, but he will not work because it is a work which has a purpose in itself, which is his own benefit. So no seva, it's just work. And he will surrender, but not really surrendering, because he is lowering himself with the purpose of attaining that. The other one lowers himself with the purpose of getting a much more easy life, easy way in the teachings. So different motivations are there. So this power hungry, it will do anything, anything and everything. And both of them will be sincere, quite sincere. It's not about being insincere. It is about the struggle that they will have, the different struggles that they will have. So it's not about being bad or insincere or unfit. It is the struggle that each seeker goes through. And I'm resuming this in two characteristics, exacerbated ones, so that you can recognize more easily. But things are not just black and white. But you can see these characteristics very strongly. These two are very observable in every seeker, and they will present more of one than the other. Usually it is like this. So it is easier for you to see what's happening there. So this power-hungry character, he will go through teachings, and the mindset, it is always the same. And there is this spiritual greed, spiritual voracity that goes through everything, a lot of this and that, and judging everything on its value, on its there is no room for real appreciation, for the contemplation of blessings, because like I said, it is a right and not a blessing. And they will go through it and step all over everything without even noticing them. For them, this is the level of sacredness, of respect, of sacredness, the contemplation of the divine. This is their acknowledgement. For those who are more spiritually connected, because there are those seekers who are not that spiritually connected, and then sacredness becomes like, what is that? Intellectually, they can still grasp it, but it's not tangible. They don't have any idea, real idea, but that is extreme situation. But they are there also. These power hungry, sometimes they are workaholics, or they lack the ability to work, they are lazy. So for the workaholics, they have very difficulties in stop working, because it is a source of self-value. They don't recognize any value in themselves apart from what they can produce, of what they can give to others. And giving to others means about whatever they can make so that others can appreciate and they can feel a little better with themselves. And the ones that are lazy, these ones, they can do intense work, but they cannot maintain it. They work for a while, and they strongly work if they have to, but maintaining that, if they stop being pressured, they stop the work, they cannot continue it. And the more they envision as a profit in that work, the more hard they will work, but in short periods of time. They cannot maintain it because their thirst is very strong, but their laziness is stronger. So they try to be important and to gain more power with other means, not those that um, are difficult for them. So let's see more characteristics of these ones, the pleasure-seeking ones. Pleasure-seeking ones they have very difficulty in working. So if you put them to work, to hard work, they will resist it. They will try to do it in their own pace, adapting circumstances so that they don't move too much. they don't how do you say this? They don't get too much tired or whatever, and they will try to seduce the master in the way of with a nice smile, nice face, so that they can have a nice time, and the best teachings and all of this, but pretending and not dealing with this negativity, and this niceness has nothing to do with sacredness, with spiritual evolution. It's just a fake attitude, so that this pleasure, they seek also through the master this pleasure relationship, the master's favor, the master's smile, the master to be the closest to the master, to be always with the master, and all of this because they gain pleasure from it. Pleasure. Well, not everybody appreciates this topic. So, but for those who are really, really trying and have to go through one of these struggles or a little bit of both of these struggles, and for those who are really seeking, this is very important to know, because without knowing the rules of the game that you're playing, how will you succeed? So one of the biggest difficulties in the spiritual path is to drop mundane goals. And by mundane goals, I mean about circumstantial happiness. The pleasure seeker, the more pleasure he gets, the more divine love he gets, the more his circumstances will be better for him to be happy. The power seeking, the more power and importance he has, the more number one. He wants to be the number one of the number ones of the number ones. So the more close he gets to this, the more close he thinks that he is from the perfect circumstances of being happy. And they are using that which is the end as just a means, because they are looking for truth, they are looking for God, they are looking for realization as a means of fulfilling this image of happiness, that the same image they had when the calling was not there. So nothing has really changed. So everything will be adapted to these human mundane needs. And if they don't break their limitations, it will be very difficult. So this power-hungry character, he will have to know frustration, because every victory he has, it is a shot on the foot, because, and if with these frustrations that he gets, if he still persists, he will have a chance of shifting his motivations and attuning, and with time, developing real devotion, because that is water in his own desert. You will have to know sensitivity towards others. You will have to know what is compassion. He will have to look upon others also, not just himself. He have to consider others. But this is just a means still, just a means. So all these experiences will have to be there. If he is lazy, he will have to learn hard work. This will be also a problem, because as he perfects this capacity to work hard, it will increase also his personal importance, but it's the way, and then he will have to deal with this later. The other one, well, he will have to learn to do things for himself, to deal with his own negativities and what he considers others' negativities. You will have to learn how to work hard and you will go through extreme pain also, because you will have to go through these moments where it is very difficulty and he just throws himself down and waits for someone to pick him up, or a colleague, or the master to pick him up, or whatever. And it will, and if he's lucky, those things will not come, and he will have to endure sacrifices. The other one makes sacrifices easily, but it's not really sacrificing, it is investment. This one also, it is investment, but these sacrifices are very low, because he's not in the game for losing, but for winning. So he gives just a little bit of himself, and he expects to receive the whole universe in exchange. So eventually he will have to make a lot of sacrifices. He will have to learn of taking care without anything attached to give him back. He will probably have to give everything which is important to him, and still nothing will be there in the horizon. There's always something in the horizon, because everybody always gets something from their practice, but very little. Because all the work that is being done, if it would give fruits immediately, it would rob you the possibility to continue and to really establish yourself in the quest for truth. So sometimes, most of times, you have a lot of effort, a lot of work, and you see nothing as a fruit, or very little fruits. First is because of your greed. So everything will be little unless it is overwhelmingly big. But also because it is a protection. If you're not ready for your fruits, it's best for them not to come. They will come when you're ready for them. So all this will be preparation. So if you're having these characteristics, and if you're really in a serious path, you will have to go through these different obstacles, different challenges, different teachings, because it will have to be different for you. Like I said previously, philosophy is nice, it is good for groups of seekers in the beginning of their path. That's it. Guidance is completely different, has nothing to do with philosophies. It may use a little bit of this and a little bit of that, depending on what is needed for you at this moment, but has nothing to do with that. It is something else. This philosophy, it is kindergarten yet, still. You're trying to learn to give the first steps. So this philosophies, interpretation of philosophies and everything, it is interesting, but it's still first steps. If you don't understand what I'm saying, well, you can ask, and then let's see if it becomes more clear. For both, the same remedy is there, and the same remedy will have different effects on them. Devotion and hard work. These two things have to be worked up intensely in both. And they will have different effects in each seeker. Devotion for the pleasure seeking will be more easy. Work will be more difficult. For the power seeking one, this devotion, hard work will be more easy, and devotion will be more difficult. And I'm speaking about sincere ones. Let me make this underlining again. Sincere ones. Because this is not about a seeker which has inabilities. It's not the epic. The quest for truth is an epic. And there is a struggle, inner struggle. And for each different seekers, there will be a different struggle in there. And and this is generally speaking, because if you look at particular seekers, you may find these intense characteristics like this, the way I'm explaining, or more diluted, a little bit of one and the other, and then there are other aspects. But in grossly, you can find this in all seekers. And this is their epic, their story, and the way they have to move through it. It doesn't determine if it is possible or not. It doesn't determine if you're value or not. It just determines more or less the kind of story you'll go through in your quest for truth. That's it. It's not about judging. It's about evaluating what is there so that you can use the best that you have at your disposal to transcend these difficulties, to transcend them. And if I asked each one of you, do you have this? Do you have this? For example, if you're the power seeking, and I've asked if you have these characteristics, in the beginning, you will say no. Of course not. You can even recognize some, but no, because I'm sincere, and no, I don't have these difficulties. I am really doing these things. And you're still being sincere. And this is the level that you can see. That's all. With work, with time, with persistence, and with a lot of time and reflection and observation, then you will start noticing that things were not as your mind was telling you. So to understand, to have a vision of this, self-observation is crucial. And by that, I don't mean about this, it's a different observation. It's having the ability to conquer the liberty of gaining distance from these inner pullings that are making you invest in automatic investments in situations, in whatever, the investments, and that are not being questioned. By remaining there, observing these pullings that arise, apart from being dragged by these things, if you are observing, you will be able to evaluate what are these things intending. If I still mix this with my needs, with my desires, with my investments, so what am I trying to gain through this? When you are able to do this with a big part of what's coming out, then you will have a better chance of observing yourself and observing these rooted behaviors, rooted needs, self-imposed qualities, structures, images of happiness. Because in the end, it is about real surrender. It is about tuning with guidance, becoming one with it. It's not about understanding guidance, or this can be a means to an end. But in the end, it is about tuning with guidance. And the small channel that was the communication, that was where they touch themselves, each other. This will increase, increase, increase until it swallows and becomes one. So it's not about intelligence, sophistication. It's not about that. And it's about stop feeding these structures, these behaviors, and them to dissolve, And the difficulty is, one of them is this different kinds of greed. They are always expecting something that is um, being added to them. So learning philosophies is easy because you are learning something. There is input, and there's tools. You can do something with these tools. Something concrete can happen. And in a way, you're still in control. That is another thing. You're in control. But the part of silencing, of letting go, of quietude, all of these things, this is very difficult because nothing is being added. And this brings restlessness to these structures. And what happens is, in any way possible, they will renovate their quests, their worldly goals. Sometimes they quit spirituality or quit teachings, whatever, quit master. They have to renovate this, these inner mechanics. So the surrendering part, understanding is a means to surrender, understanding that this is not mine, this is not me, these needs, these sufferings, this is not mine. So, and living these things so that they can dissolve, this is the most difficult part. Because in the end, it is quite simple, quite simple. So simple that in the beginning, it has no interest. The real teachings are useless because there's no value seen in them. Surrendering, what is that? If it is surrendering to that, this new language, to that, oh, that's more easy. But that's not really, no surrendering. So this is why sometimes the master has to come with a physical body because of you, so that you can experience surrendering. Not surrendering because everything is nice, but because even if things are very difficult. So different seekers have different needs. But these are two big aspects for those who are beginners and think that are professionals also. They can fit also in this beginners, and they will see these characteristics. And again, it's not, for example, what I said, those who think they are professionals. This is not judgment. It's opportunity for you to look at these things with a little more attention. You may be surprised because there's nothing new under the sun. And also, again, on the upper part of the sun also, nothing new, but that's another story. Okay, if you have questions about this subject, well, feel free to ask. This phone is almost dying. These questions here, I will answer them Thursday. If there's any questions about this subject, you can send, I will answer them now. So next satsang will be Thursday. And yeah, it will be the last satsang of this week. Then Tuesday again, we'll be here. So one capability that it's very important is freedom to look upon yourself or what you think you are, the character, and be able to see without being constrained, without being horrorized or impressed by it, being able to see what is there. And as you are dependent on evaluations with a low self-esteem and all of this, it will be difficult for you to see because you have protections upon protections upon protections upon protections. You need to believe the image you're trying to give to the world. So it's very difficult for you to see what's really there. And without knowing what's really there, it's very difficult, almost impossible to transcend it. No matter how difficult it is to see, you have to see, not judge, not judging, not feeling pain because of that or unworthy and all these things. You have to move away from this. Because even these are triggers that are at the basis of all these mechanisms of distraction. So they are a part of it. But without knowing, without seeing these characteristics there, these mechanics, it will be impossible to transcend them. So moving away from these evaluations that wound you and that takes you to this notion that I'm not valued enough and all of these things, this is not good. You need to be able to see it, no matter how ugly it may seem. You need to be able to see it so that then it is possible to do something about it. And this doing something about it can be interpreted in different ways and can be really presented in different ways, because different seekers will have to deal with this, and this will mean different things. For some, it means doing something concrete about it. For others, it means doing nothing concrete about it, just remaining in stillness. And there are others in between. So it will have different meanings according to different seekers. Okay. Okay. So Thursday, we'll be back again. Intensify your practices, reflect, make it real for you.